we come to Moses' life. Now, Moses is interesting because he lived as a prince of Egypt until he was 40. This is a very unique upbringing. Egyptian royalty were trained since they were very, very young to have interactions with the spirit world. He would have a really intimate knowledge of many forms of divination. He would also have been taught different techniques of just spiritual contact. The Egyptian culture was at the forefront of having an actual process or ritual work with the spirit world. We see with Moses, though, that at first we don't really know how he talked to God. It seems like he hears an audible voice with the detail of what God says to him. But only on one occasion does it actually say God spoke to him face to face as talking with a man. On the other occasions, it just doesn't mention how Moses heard from God. Now, when it does say how he got his knowledge, it is interesting that it has a very wide variety of ways that he heard from God. Not only did he hear God's voice, but at other times he has dreams, visions, which are kind of dreams during the day, and dramatic signs. One of these times is the story of his calling. God draws near to him and speaks to him in a burning bush. We also find him using postures with God. Now, we're going to go into postures in much more detail in a later section. But at one point, Israel is in a battle. And if Moses stands up with his arms raised, holding up his staff in this posture, then they win. But if he has his hands dropped down, they start to lose. This is actually a posture that you find throughout historic culture. We also have the first record of the Urim and Thummim at the time of Moses. These were two items, probably bones, that the high priest kept in their breastplate, and they could use it for divining what God's will was about a certain situation. One of my favorite ways to hear God's will that Moses uses, I like to call, if this, then that. It would go something like this. Moses would say, if this is your will, God, then fill in the blank. And if that thing that he mentions happens, then he knew it was God's will. Now, this method just has so much practical application. It is such a powerful tool to use today. Now, Moses was very unique in many methods that he used to communicate with God, and it would be interesting to contemplate that if his upbringing in Egypt allowed him or opened him up to using many of these options, or if that's just kind of coincidence. We will see all of his methods used later on by other people throughout the Old Testament, though.